And pleasure to have you. I just want you to give me the rundown you were just giving me on your intro and kind of your background, because
That's great.
I'm aware of some of it. I was aware of some of it, but most people aren't. And I just want to make sure people know who's speaking right now.
Yes. Well, firstly, thank you for having me here. You're a legend, right? You know that, right? I saw the T app. I saw it flooding out. I was like, who is this guy who's making this happen? And then I came upon you, and then I keep seeing you on my feed and in my emails as well. And then every time an email drops, I'm like, fuck, I need to put that on my reading list because I know what you put out. I know what you do there is genuine. So thank you so much for what you've done for the community. I think you've up-leveled the consumer app community quite a lot by sharing all your experiences, everything you've gone through. That helps, right?
I appreciate
Because
it.
I'd say most of the time people want to do things, but they don't know how to. And just people like you putting out this information out there, telling people, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what you go through, etc., is really helpful. Let me do the part. Let me share my side. Do you want me to do an Indian namaste?
No, you're good. And before you start, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think one thing is kind of putting out content, and the other thing is knowing that it's actually helping. So I appreciate you saying that. I mean, just give me a bit of your background, just like you were. Um,
Yeah. Well, you know that. Firstly, to begin with my background, where I'm from, you can tell I'm from India because we are sitting in almost the same temperature, and I'm in a sweater and a trench, and you're sitting there in your t-shirt. I've got the heater also on behind me. So I'm originally from India, quite early there. Same background, like I said, right? Not coming from money, not that my family had a trust fund. Man, I didn't even know about a trust fund until I went for my MBA. So I started from there, just a really humble background. And then I got a scholarship to go to China to do my master's there. That was back more than 10 years ago, so quite a while back. Did my master's, and then I started a fitness business in China. We basically discovered that in China we didn't have 24-hour fitness studios or gyms. So we decided, hey, we're going to bring this model in. Also, we had a lot of IoT integration so we could minimize the staff inside the establishment. Scale this from nothing to 7 locations across China. We were in a couple of cities as well. Did 15 million RMB in revenue. By the time you're finishing this, managed 50 employees. Also, I was really young then, bro. So I was really young and I fucked up so much. I'm not even joking with you. The things I did then, I think about them right now and I'm like, Ankit.
How old were you?
So when I started I was 23, and when I exited, I was 26, 27.
Okay, so you guys sold that?
I exited my
Okay,
business. I sold it to private shareholder. Just
nice.
had a long enough time in China, and I wanted to experience something on the other side as well. So yeah, bro, I remember this was insane, right? I landed in China. I didn't speak the language. The food was different. Everything was going around different. I had no idea what to do, how to manage, and I built myself up from here. And the reason I know that I can make a business work is not because I'm the smartest. I'm not the smartest, but I know that if I could go through in a country where I couldn't even manage the language and like just grind my way to building this all up, I know I can do it anywhere. I know I can do it anywhere. And at the same time, right, I see you've got buff arms. So I was also a men's physique competitor, a bodybuilder, competed for 4 years. One of the best times of my life. Best times. Like the only thing I would do is I would go in, I would eat what I had to for the day. I would go into the gym at 5. I would start my first training. Then I would manage a bit around. Then I would do my second training. Then I would eat again. And then I would just train once more in the evening. Like it was the best time of my life, bro. It was so much fun. But then COVID came and we had to not close down, but we had to shut our doors for that moment. The government placed really strict restrictions. And that moment I had a bit of time to think and I realized I wanted to grow faster. We were growing at the rate of one gym a year. But I was quite young, I was quite hungry, I wanted to learn a bit more. So I moved to Spain and I did my MBA from IESE, or IESE, how it would be called in English. It's a top 5 institution here. And it taught me a lot about how to think of money in big terms, right? Before I would see a million figure and I'd be like, wow, that's a lot of money. But then going into the MBA, I think the biggest learning is I realized that million, billion, I mean, these are all numbers and these are all achievable. It's not something hidden behind a door. Then in the later part of the MBA, I moved to Germany. I decided to work for someone. Can you imagine that? I wanted to see how it felt like. I went and worked with a hardware as a service scale up in Germany. I came in as a growth operator. I took them from a Series B to Series C, a 40 million round to 200 million. And honest to God, man, two big learnings there. One was the mentor I had, the COO, was directly my lead. And he taught me so much about leading with example. You know, he would be the hardest worker in the room. He would come before everyone, leave after everyone. Muhammad is sick, and I respect him. I truly respect him because he taught me what it is like to be a good manager, to be a good boss. The second thing I realized was that I didn't want to work for someone. Even though I was working in one of the best places, I was like, hey, I need to go back and do something of my own again. So I moved to New York in 23 and I launched Flame. What a fuck up it was. What a fuck up it was, Alex. Man, I told you this experience before as well. I knew nothing about tech. Nothing, right? I could sell a tech product, but that's way different than knowing what tech is. I went to my friends who were developers. I went to their home. I'm like, hey, I want to build this mobile app, right? My hypothesis on the business side was there are so many apps to help you find a partner, but there's nothing once you've found a partner. So I want to build something to help couples when they've found a partner. And I'm going to tell you a slightly longer version in this story. This was in 22. So I was like, okay, cool. And then they asked me, what coding language are you going to build this in? I'm like, guys, are you joking, right? Like, I mean, you're developers. It's just one language. I tell you and you build it. They're like, no. There are different kind of languages, different kind of apps as well. Do you want to build a native app in Swift? Do you want to build a React Native app? Do you want to build a web app? I'm like, fuck, this is complicated. And then I'm like, okay, let's start whatever you think is the best with. And they said, okay, but you have the UI UX laid out. First time I ever heard of Figma. First time I ever heard of Figma, bro. So, you know, it was a journey. It was a journey. And I've come from that point to coding myself, learning how to build mobile apps, etc., etc. And something I was telling you about previously, Alex, that I think we are living in the golden times. There is no barrier between us and success right now except just putting in the work, right? Putting in the work and being smart about it. All the answers are there, available to us.
100%. I agree. And look, this is great. I mean, thank you for sharing. I told you I had 20 follow-up questions. There's a few things that interest me a lot already. So I see that there's a bit of with the gyms, it's kind of consumer facing, right? I mean, there's elements that can be B2B, but it's essentially just, a consumer business model. And then it seems that when you join this startup, is this a B2B startup? Is this a also consumer? How was it?
The one I worked for in Germany, they were a scale up focused on hardware as a service. So what we would do is create the mobile device management system behind it and then lease out hardware to companies like BCG or PwC, any of the bigger enterprises, lease out hardware to them.
Okay. So you kind of you go into this completely different industry, like a 180, and then you come back as a 180 to consumer. Walk me through the thought process.
You'd agree, bro? I think consumer is like that toxic X. It's like, even though you know it's not good for you, you keep coming back to it. Even though you realize how much money is there in B2B, even though you realize how like straightforward the sales process is, you're like, there's something about consumer, right? Also, I hate to admit it, but I think every consumer founder will agree. There's a part of our ego as well. We all saw the social network. We all saw Mark Zuckerberg start in his realm and become the biggest guy. You're like, yeah, if he can do it, why not us?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I see that. I see that. So look, because this interests me, and I want to ask. So obviously, scaling gyms and then obviously scaling an app are two kind of fundamentally different things for different reasons. Although they're kind of consumer faced, both. But I want to know exactly. Do you think there's transferable skills from that experience to now what you're doing in terms of Flame and scaling different apps?
I think the two biggest things I would put in perspective is one, a pain is still a pain, right? When you're selling to anyone, I would say even across B2B, the core hypothesis of you creating a solution is because the pain exists and you've validated that pain, you understand that pain is present, you've done the mom test on the pain. So I would say it's the same transferable skills where you realize what the pain is. I would say the biggest difference though, Alex, was that it was very consumer facing in the sense face to face when I was running chains of gym, right? In a mobile app scene, it's still consumer, but there is a layer of algorithm between you. Be TikTok's algorithm, it could be Meta's algorithm, it could be Google Ads algorithm, but there's an algorithm between you, and that's the biggest difference. I would say the biggest thing that helped me actually from having the gyms and being a bodybuilder was actually being a bodybuilder. I'm not kidding. Like, just that part where you're eating the same shit every day, man. You're training like 4 times a day, even though you're exhausted out of your stuff. I close to a competition, I was only eating so I would have enough calories to train.
Yeah.
Like literally enough calories to train. So this is, if you ask me of skills which are transferred over, I would say this is the biggest one. Just pushing through things again and again and again and again and again until you get the result you want.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask you, I had here a note saying about the bodybuilder competition, because I don't think most people realize that it's one of the most challenging things you can do in your life, to go and compete in like men's physique, for example.
So I've got a team set up. I tend to prefer the ones who have fitness experience. I'm not telling you to go and be a bodybuilder, but I know the people who are able to push for a sport, they can also push for other things in the same manner. So if anyone ever wants to apply for a job with me, just say, like, if you show on your resume that you've got a gym experience, it works well.
Have a physique photo, and that's gonna
it's like a shirtless photo comes in
your CV. No, I get that. Look, because yeah, I think it's really, it translates to like pain tolerance and stress tolerance at the end of the day. So you're gonna be stressed, you're out of your mind. You're gonna be, having to endure that pain. That's the biggest thing. And this is where it gets interesting. So you said with the gyms, it's really, there's like, even though it's an institution or a company, right? There's always someone the consumer can connect with before making the purchase, before coming in. So it's like you have that human connection. And this is almost what kind of people try to do with content nowadays. It's trying to associate like a human face to a software, to an app that you would otherwise just see like a logo, right? Do you think that's relevant? Do you think that's the same concept that we're trying to kind of build in the software world?
Exactly, brother. The reason UGC works really well, the reason it's hard to create content en masse is because what do you do when let's hypothetically pick someone who's doing TikTok farming on 10 accounts and they want to create content at mass because they can't create it themselves, right? They look for an automation, they look how can they automate the entire thing, how can they can put it into motion. But the problem is that automation doesn't understand the human emotion. It can't iterate based on that. Every single piece of content you put out, you learn every time. You would agree with this. Every single piece of content teaches you so much, even if you don't get comments. You just look at the retention graph, you can already tell what the other side is thinking, where they're dropping off, why they're dropping off, what is happening with regarding that. One thing I notice is people try to take shortcuts to begin with. What I always feel is take the longer way to begin with, and then you can apply shortcuts when you know what the long way is. And regarding content, in the same manner, content resonates with an audience because they resonate with the content. It's not detached, it is the same experience, it is the same. Their pain being resonated in the content they see. I remember one of the content you did, we studied it quite deeply as well, the Santa one, the Secret Santa account or so, where the girl was putting out the pain around being cheated on by her partner. Why did it resonate so much? Because it's a genuine pain point. People do actually feel that, people do resonate with that, people look at that and they're like, I understand this. And that's what you want in the end. You want someone to land on your video and be like, I feel this, I understand this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's for someone who's building a product, for someone who's doing the app or coding or, is kind of thinking about the product perspective, it's really hard to know what the consumer is going to be facing or thinking when they're downloading that app. So when you say, and TikTok farming, what do you mean? Walk me through. I wanna go into that.
It's literally, what I do every morning. I get up, I pick my shovel from the backyard, and I go in and start pulling my phones through. I like fucking walk through them like a literal farmer. So I'll tell you I'll give you another preface on my company, bro. It's going to help understand why we got into this in the first place, right? Because a lot of people just see me putting out TikTok farming and they're like, hey, you probably began with this. No, that's not what happened. So we launched an MVP in 22 end, right? All built with an agency's help. Terrible idea at that time because I realized that the product just didn't function the way it was supposed to. It's not that my product hypothesis was broken, but I couldn't test it because of it not functioning the way it was supposed to. Anyway, we got selected by TechCrunch. We went all the way to San Francisco. We released the product there at Disrupt as a startup battlefield company. It was incredible. That first month in October, we were fucking blasting it out, bro. Like, it wasn't a couples app, it was a date planning app in which you could plan a date with your partner. But using that same hypothesis, you could plan a date with your friend as well, you could plan a date with your family as well. And that led to a better viral loop because you would invite one plus two plus three other people as well. So the first month we grew 800% week on week, went from zero to 9,000 users. And then, so this was the release. I sent you the article when we launched. And then in November, I wake up one morning and I see a letter in my inbox from a company which I cannot name because of legal reasons. But they issued us a cease and desist. They said that the name you're using is similar to the name we have got under a brand. So they send us a letter for trademark infringement, brand infringement as well, as I remember. It's been a long time. And man, fuck it. I was like, I already told you I was struggling to already understand what a tech product is. I launched the first thing, it's growing, and I'm like, okay, something is working, and it all breaks down. It was a
Yeah,
stressful time, bro. It was a
I think
stressful
those
time.
are some of the like unknown unknowns when you start doing something new, where it's like you don't really know what can go wrong until shit starts hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And
So we left.
uh,
Yeah.
go,
No, I was saying, so, I did what we as founders would. I leveraged that. I leveraged that because we had a 30-day retention, not even 30-day, I think a weekend retention of 0.8%. So like, how can we make the best out of this? We send our investors, we send the people who are following us a letter saying that, hey, because of this, we've had to pull back. We're going to reinvent now, but at the same time, we wanted to reiterate on the product and understand what pain were we actually solving. At the same time, ChatGPT came out. That was November and 2022, and we launched the first relationship AI for couples and existent, right? Built on top of GPT 3.3 or 3.5, I forgot. Put that out there, picked up a lot of fame as well. We featured on the LA Times. We came on TechCrunch again because of that. It was amazing, but the retention was still crap. No one wanted to use AI for the relationship. There was a lot of hype around it, but it didn't translate to people staying on the product. So, not knowing how to start a tech business from scratch, I did what any founder would after YC tells you that build a product and they'll come. I build the product, right? I went deep into building the product. I got the retention up from 4.8 to roughly 50%, well, 40% at that time plus, and we ran out of money. It's because
yeah,
we didn't monetize the product and we didn't know how to distribute it. I
yeah,
got into calls with A16Z, I got into calls with Sequoia, with General Catalyst, all the big names you've got out there, bro. We got into the calls because of a retention. They asked us how you're going to distribute it. I think I said Google Ads or some shit. I don't even remember. I don't want to remember. I never got the second call.
yeah, yeah.
Never got the second call.
I think that's yeah. I think that's one of the toughest things. Like, yeah, when you don't know, actually, when there's no plan or you don't really know what's going to happen, the distribution side of things, it's such a different era nowadays with product, such a different kind of time to be, living in if you're scaling consumer. So did you guys end up, because of the cease and desist of that first app, did you guys end up kind of closing that down or rebranding? What happened there?
So we rebranded the app as Flame.
Okay.
I'll tell you an inside joke. We were initially going to call it Vibes. Do you understand this word?
Which vibes?
I'm going to type this for
Let me
you.
see. Let me see. One sec. Vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is that with my Indian accent, I can't pronounce this. Vibes.
Bro, okay. Sorry,
You
man.
know,
People
you
wouldn't know.
understand, you know what the word is right now, right?
Yeah.
Vibes. I can't say it.
Vibes.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. But for the
No, yeah.
life of me, we were like, if I, as the founder and CEO, can't pronounce the word, I don't know how we're going to be selling this.
Yeah.
So we decided to evolve the spark into a flame. We added an M. We picked up the French version of the word because of my partner. So
Mm.
flame with double M, and we
Yeah.
put it
Very
out
nice.
again. Yeah, so that's what we did with the
Okay.
rebranding. We just decided it's not worth fighting for because a lot of founders initially we get attached to the wrong things, right? Like a name doesn't fucking matter if no one knows about
No.
it.
But I was gonna say this, and man, sometimes sometimes what you envision for the app as like what you think people care about, that even doesn't matter. So this is where I want to get into because this is interesting for me. So I looked through Flame, and now that you said that initially it started at something as like planning dates, right? And now it's almost like a different positioning, right? So let's take this example, completely different positioning. How much of the actual product did you guys change from that moment till now?
It's not the same product at all.
Okay.
None of the components are being carried over. I would say the closest thing we have with the V2 we released after the lawsuit is the AI coach. But we also realized that, we put that as a highlight of the product and no one used it. No one used it. We realized that people don't want that. We had to put it as a sideline in the product. Like the product right now with 50% plus day 30 retention is completely different than the product we launched at V1.
And initially, when you guys were getting, I think you said 0 to 8,000 users, right? What happened? What was happening there that was making that thing grow?
PR.
Okay, cool.
PR, we came on TechCrunch, Howard Crimson, a bunch of other places. They did a lot for my founder ego. It did shit for the product, man. I realized that's not
That's what I
something
was
you can
gonna
scale.
ask. Yeah. Okay, because this is something that interests me. I don't know, and pretend I'm stupid here. I don't know how much PR affects like retention of those users start coming in, because like you get a lot of users. It seems like growth was looking good from like just a statistical standpoint, right? But then going in saying, okay, who are these users? What are they doing? What's their consumption pattern? Like what was that moving the needle, or were they like the wrong users, right?
Very good question. So, think about it, right? When you see something come out in, let's say, the New York Times, you have this novelty attached with, hey, it's coming on this reputed publication I'm aware about. So you download it in part, not because you actually need the thing, in part because it's featured there as well. Similar thing happened with us. We came on TechCrunch, we came on Howard Crimson, we came on a bunch of other places, The Guardian, and people downloaded it for the novelty and the credibility that came with being on the platform, which is way different than TikTok. People download your solution because they resonate with the pain. Here they did it because we got featured on the big names. Of course, the retention did not match what we expected at all. People just came in and then started flunking out of it. The second part we realized with PR is that it's not scalable. I can't go to TechCrunch every month and tell them, hey, we got this new thing, do you want to put it out? We managed to scale all this PR organically, but there's a lot of money being put by companies behind PR as well. Well, it's the same logic. You do that once you have established something, once you have scale already unlocked. You do it to elevate it slightly above. You want to get a better name to put out to investors, to talk with them. It's different. But you can't use PR to scale your consumer product.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for the questions.
Bro, please ask me.
When I hear something that I get interested in, I just want to go into it. So like with PR, what it seems to me that you're saying is that because you can't do it over and over again, or rather, if you were doing it, it'd just be the whole budget would have to go for that because you're competing against giants that just have the budgets for it, right? It's just a constant fight to stay relevant with something that's like not with your target user. And you compare that with TikTok, for example, and I want to hear your take here. I think TikTok is so obviously the place to be right now, and many companies still reject it. And I have my theory on it, but I want to ask you. You said TikTok's a different game because people who are interested in the product are actually validating your product and your value prop, right? Do you think that's harder than, just going and having whatever other people promote it or PR? Like, how much harder do you think it is, if yes?
So I'll answer two questions at the same go. Why do companies, big companies don't do it? And why is it harder? It's because it's something new.
Yeah.
Right? It's the novelty of it. It's a really new thing. And think about organizations that have been established for a while. They pick things that they're the most comfortable with. They don't go for the new thing. They don't go for what's out in the market right now. They go for what's been tested and proven across the last decade for them to tap into. Is TikTok harder than PR? Yes, because I'll tell you what goes on under the scene behind PR. So our reach was all organic because of the initial TechCrunch startup battlefield thing we got, and then that led to other things happening on the back of it. But for most founders, the way it works is you contact a PR agency, they tell you, hey, these are the prices, these are the like places we can get you out there. You pay that money and they put you out there. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like, oh, wow, it's the simplest way. I should be scaling using this method. But again, go back to what I told you initially. And I can tell you this from credibility. We've been through it. You can Google the name of my company and any PR publication, you'll find us listed there. The problem with PR is one, it's so general that the users don't resonate with the pain point. They download it for the novelty of the PR. If you keep putting out on the same publication again and again, your return goes down dramatically because they've seen you once there. The first time the novelty is there. The second time they're like, oh, maybe the second time, third, fourth, fifth, they're like, okay, I don't really care about this right now. And the second thing is it's just not scalable. Like you can't just expect to keep putting money in and get an X return on that. Something as compared to TikTok, you know that, okay, I'm putting in X amount of volume on TikTok, either through my organic channels or UGC, and I can expect between this range to come out of it.
Yeah, no, I see that. And it's something new. And even building a product is something you said right now, like today, before you had no experience coding when you first came into the app world, and it was needed. But now we're at that kind of era where anyone can build. And the thing is, you have this kind of merit-based, almost merit-based thing being built on the product side because anyone can build it, you can just build a good product, right? So competition is better. And then on the distribution side, TikTok, that's what it came to do. It's like it's almost like a democratization of
It
media.
is.
I was talking to Owen, he was saying this, and I wanted to hear your take. Do you think, or rather, how do you think new founders, new apps, new startups can compete with these giants that will inevitably start doing the same thing, start doing the same kind of distribution methods?
I think, and I'm going to sound quite basic when I'm saying this, but again, go back to the pain, right? Like everyone needs, a lot of people just get lost in, okay, what is the best kind of content can I put out? What can I do? This, that, yada, yada. But man, I know you do this as well, Alex, where before you even get started with working with a company, you understand what pain point is their product solving. What is the ICP they're serving, right? The basics of building a product, the basics of starting a company, go back to that hypothesis. That's how you can compete. The second advantage is TikTok is so native that the more polished you are, the more it punishes you.
Yeah,
It's generally
that's
the
true.
more polished you are, the more it punishes you. What do big companies do? They get a big marketing budget. They come in, they're like, oh, we're going to put out the best video, and no one gives a fuck about it. And that is the beauty of TikTok, man. What I tell every founder I talk with is that, is it costing you something to go put out 3 pieces of videos on TikTok today? No, right? Like it's literally free channel available to you to put your product out there, sell your product, and it's not costing you anything. You can try doing the same thing again and again and again and again every day. And I think that's where I like what you said before, the democratization of media, because TikTok has done that. You don't need a massive budget to start with. You don't need to be really polished. You could just put out a video of yourself talking, and that has a higher chance of hitting virality as compared to something really polished by a big brand. Second, there's no cost. It doesn't cost anyone anything to pick up their phone right now and literally
You
record
start.
themselves and put it on TikTok.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's it. Is like both on the product side and on the marketing side, the barrier of entry has almost been removed. It's like many people ask me, especially earlier stage. And again, like I want to hear you on this. Earlier stage startups or founders are always worried about very high complexity problems. Like, how do I organize my UGC team? How many people do I hire? How much volume do I put out? And I'm like, hey man, listen, these are problems you're going to face when you start. Like now it's just head first, get in, start posting. And I'm curious, like do you think that's the play and then focusing on UGC, or rather, how do you think people can get started? Do they need to make content themselves? Can they go and create, a bunch of different pages and create content with, AI, how do you think about this? And from
And
that perspective of getting started.
And I'm just going to be completely honest here, brother, right? A lot of people tend to overcomplicate things in life, personally and professionally. How can people start right now? Pick up your fucking phone, speak to it for 20 seconds and post it. Doesn't work? Do that again. Doesn't work? Do that again. Keep doing it until you figure out why is it not working. When you figure out why it's not working, then find someone who can help you scale this to a different level. Create another account actually on your phone, create another account, then create another account. Then the point when you can't do it yourself, then go and find people who can help. Either scale it organically or find UGCs to work with. But start doing this. A lot of people are like, initially they begin with, what is the best tool should I be using? Should I buy 10 phones or 5 phones right now? Should I be using AI to produce my content? Should I hire creators to do that? Or what agency should I work with initially to begin with? Or what should I do here? I'm like, have you ever used TikTok? Bro, until the starting of last year, I had no idea about TikTok. You know what I did? I picked up my phone and I went on the damn app every day for 2 months for 4 hours. Every day, 4 hours. And the way I view it is, Alex, I don't know something, and this is the knowledge, right? How do I get there? I don't get here by staying here and being like, oh no, I don't know anything about it. Oh, it's too complex. Or it's this. Or what is the best thing should I use? Or I should prepare better. I should do this better. No, I start by doing something and doing something and doing something and doing something and doing something. What is going to happen is it's not going to be like this, right? I'm going to fail. I'm going to do something and I'm going to fail. But then I'm going to come back with that knowledge and I'm going to fail again. And I'm going to come back with another knowledge. And this is how I come back every time, slightly higher, until I get that knowledge.
Yeah. And what do you think the value of scrolling is? Because you said you came in the app, scrolled, and yeah, where do you think the value lies there?
Just think that I didn't understand how it worked, right? Like, and I'm not saying about the tech, I understand how it works. You get to see a video, you scroll past, you see another video, you can see a couple of other things. But I just didn't have my brain programmed to operate on TikTok. And that's what I had to do by scrolling. I was literally doing that. But initially to begin with, I just scrolled to understand how does it work, what kind of content is there. That's when you pick up, right, that you don't need your content to be polished. Probably the more polished it is, the more higher chances of it not working. Then the second stage that comes is once you've discovered what your brand identity is or what are you looking for, then most of my ideas, they come by scrolling. I just keep scrolling until I find something relatable. I'm like, okay, this would make sense for us. Maybe it's in an adjacent industry, maybe it's not dating or relationships, but we can apply that into what we are doing as well.
And I think I fully agree with you. And whatever the platform is, I don't know who's listening to this right now, but just from my experience, and I'm guessing from yours as well, whatever the platform you want to grow it is, it might be YouTube, LinkedIn, it can be TikTok, can be whatever it is. You just need to go in and become one with the platform. You need to understand the platform, what people want there, right? On TikTok, it's really, I don't think people understand. One, it's really difficult, and it's not because it's complex. It's really difficult because you need to keep it simple. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. So you were talking about the retention graph, right? Many people might not know what that is. And that's one thing I want you to explain here. When you say do something, doesn't work, do it again. In the middle, are you looking at that retention graph? What is it? How does it help you?
I'll give you an example of something we're doing right now, Alex. We saw the release of Kling. I don't know if you saw some, I went viral on X with this video reposted by,
Of course.
what is it, Autistic Capital or Autistic Nation, where he said the third world has got nukes. And I was personally offended because I was wearing a Stanford hoodie. I'm like, come on, you can't call that third world. I'm probably going to get blasted for this, but I'll tell you, we are doing something, right? We are running these experiments where we want to understand if this can work on TikTok or not. We posted the first video. It got 200 views. What are we doing right now? What is the next thing we did? We looked at the retention chart and we saw when people are dropping off. Is it happening within the first 2 seconds? Then the content is still to AI because they can detect that it's not genuine. They come on the video, they see a beautiful girl, they stop for a second, but they're like, oh, this is AI. They hear the video, they're like, this is AI. What we're trying to do next is we're trying to see if we can customize the voice, because the voice is the initial drop-off point. We are trying to see if we can customize the voice to be even more genuine and human-like. You know what is the struggle I'm facing, Alex?
What is it?
It's my accent.
Yeah.
Because we use 11 Labs voice changer and we change the voice within it, right? And then we try to put it at a Californian women voice. But the problem is my accent is so thick that it carries over. Like 11 Labs can't remove it completely. But I can describe it to you. Then what we did is the second video we put out, it got 350 views. Okay, we are like, now we saw that we solved kind of the first 2 seconds. Where are they dropping off? It's on the third second. What did I do on the third second? I moved my hand up to my face. Okay, so we try doing something different and try seeing what happens then. All right, we are going to try and see, we are trying to do something different right now. We see what happens with that. People are still falling off, but what point are they falling off with? And the wonderful part, Alex, is that each of the videos could just have 300 views, but it could teach us a lot about what needs to be done better. Because we look at the retention chart, we see they fall off in the first second. Okay, there's something we need to fix here. Okay, now they're falling off on the third second. This is something we need to fix here. Okay, now we can take them till the fifth second. What did we do in the fifth second? Let's try to do something different. Let's run another experiment on top of that.
Yeah.
People think that they need to. So I was just saying that people think they need to change the content or the format every time. No, like take the same thing and try to understand what works and what doesn't. I think TikTok is a science. TikTok is a science. It's basically an equation of what is working, what is not working. You fix what is not working, you try again. You fix what is not working, try again.
Yeah, I agree. And do you think, or rather, how do you think this also affects the way you guys see product? Do you think TikTok also gives you product validation in a way?
We had a format in September that we were squeezing. It was working really well, and I'll tell you why. Was it because of the views? No. It was working really well because even though we got 5,000 to 10,000 views on each video, we were getting a 20 to 30% engagement rate. Now, you know that this amount is heavy. We were getting incredible amount of comments. What we would do is then we went into the comments and we tried to understand what the problem was. People, I think the good part about TikTok is that people are just genuine, right? They don't have any barrier between, so they tell you what they're thinking. We put all of these comments through GPT and we scan them and we try to understand what is the biggest pain they were experiencing, and we build a product further around this pain.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, and by the way, I think more and more we're seeing that people almost validate content first before they go and build a product, because the barrier of entry to build a product is also lower today. So you can just validate an angle first, a value proposition first, and then build something around it. It's very strong. So, Ankit, talk to me about the system you have in place right now. So how much volume are you putting out? How many pages do you guys have? Obviously, as much as you can share, but I'm very interested in how you're kind of running this in-house right now.
Yeah. So just to give a bit of history on that, that did not start with volume. It started with me having, where is it? Let me see if I have the OG. I think it's one of these basically, but you know, these dear iPhone 8s. I've got another one here. Oh no, it was this one. I remember I labeled them. This is phone 5, right? So it started with this one first, and I just wanted to understand how can I push traffic to TikTok US. I started with this, you know, this is where I told you got 0 views on the first one, got 0 views on the second, and then we started scaling it up from there. And we realized that it was a system. Like a lot of people, the reason it didn't work out was because of 2 things. One is regarding their whole setup. They didn't employ a system in place. They would randomly create an account, randomly link up a VPN, and then be like, yeah, I'm not reaching the US, it's not working, let me shut it down. We took a very systematic approach. We analyzed every single thing. If a video got shadow banned, we would go in and try to understand why. If a VPN got switched, if a VPN got blocked, if something else happened, we try to understand why was that happening. Initially, we picked up a lot of this knowledge just from scanning online, and also Joseph's Consumer Club was really helpful. We were the OGs in the club. That was back in 24 or so.
I think 23. I remember. Yeah. Yeah, shout out Consumer Club. Those guys are good.
Those guys were good. But then, yeah, we started with this, and then I realized that we have the system unlocked. Now let me try seeing if I can replicate the same thing I did on one phone, on 5 phones, right? So I take the system, I apply it to 5 phones, it worked. I'm like, okay, this is working now. Let's put it to 10 phones. Okay, 10 phones, it's working. Okay, how many accounts can we scale it to? Initially, we started with 1 account on each phone because we were afraid it would get blocked.
And how many posts a day per account? Sorry, Ankit?
Per account, 2 to 3 posts. We found that 3 to be the limit. If we go beyond 3, we can still spam, but the views give us a negative correlation. So we did this, and then we're like, okay, we can put up 2 accounts safely. We figured out how to do it. Okay, let's try 3 right now. We tried 3. Now we are doing somewhere between 3 to 4 per phone. So let's say we've got a dozen phones, 3 to 4 accounts, and then 2 to 3 pieces of content a day. So any point we are putting out, I would say roughly we are putting out 30, 20, 100 to 200 pieces a day, depending on what we want to test.
Very nice. Very nice. And is this mostly AI content, Ankit, or do you have creators? Yeah.
We have a backup of clips where what we realized that if we went to Russia or East European countries and hire creators there, we could get, I don't know, $100 for 200 clips. So we created a collection of this. We had to stop with this because it took a lot of work to organize this whole thing, have the operational part behind it. And then last year, actually, Alex, we ran our own in-house creator system. We tried doing it with my sister was on board. We tried doing it and we realized that it was working, but it was a lot of work. We could not handle the operations of it because a lot of people think about creator management is you get creators on board, you tell them what to do, and then test that. That is just the scratching the top layer of it. Once you start going, I don't know how you guys do it or how many people you have on your team to manage it, because I know operationally, it's not a thing where you just tell a creator, okay, you put out these many videos a day and then done, and then they'll just do it and then you'll go viral and everything is good. So you know, I mean, you're the master of this, man. I've seen your work. I know that you're really reputed in the industry. But what we learned from a small test is that we did not have the capacity for that. We didn't have the capacity.
I think this is a very good point to kind of let people know, is that I think creator management and create, the feedback loop is both the hardest and the most important thing to nail. And if you have a way, like you said, where for example, you guys are doing this, with less creator interaction than you would with a regular UGC program. So that becomes a different problem to solve. It's fundamentally the same thing, but I think it becomes a bit of a different problem to solve.
I'll tell you what the struggle is with our approach, because what we are doing right now is we are using. So I told you we tried doing the Russian thing, but it was a lot of work, and I also don't speak Russian, but it's not a lot. So we started using AI, right? We started using AI heavily. Any model you talk it, we are tapped into it. We have the Higgs field 2-year plan right now, $1,000 or something. But there's a limitation we face. Hitting the same virality is really hard with AI. Is really hard. I mean, people are doing it, so I know it's possible in some manner, but I haven't seen it at scale. The reason so far has been because it's distinguishable, right? I'll tell you one of the biggest things we can't have, which I think is the strongest leverage of using UGC, is someone talking to the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can't 100%. Have that. We can't have that with AI. That is why I was in a call with Matt last week. Actually, I was trying to understand how they do it, and I was trying to see if we can set up operations on our side to do that as well. On having UGCs actually coming in and creating content and putting it out on their channels. So one of the things we have found as a roadblock with AI is that you become solely dependent on volume. Why? Because we're putting out 100 to 200 posts, but it's marginal. For example, you could be putting out 10, 20 quality posts on your site from a proper UGC creator, and you would probably get the same amount of views, if not more. You would probably get more views as well. It's just because we found that AI, there's always a scaling limit. People after a certain point realize it's an AI and they drop off. The other problem is that, Alex, when they realize it's AI, your conversions also drop off.
Yeah. And then, I have my own thoughts on the whole thing, but this to me, so what you guys are doing, by the way, is insane. So you have a system where you can put out a ton of volume on TikTok, and you're doing it at a stage where some people or like, we live in a bubble on Twitter, let's be real, and most of the market has not yet been awakened to this, right? So you're completely kind of at the forefront or leading it in that side. It's just very interesting to me how you guys are doing it. And I want to ask, on the whole system side of things, just from what you see in content, what do you think is the biggest or the most important thing overall? So obviously we have the system, we have a systematic approach, we have the creative, we have the feedback loop, we have all of these things. What do you see as the highest impact thing or the most important thing in something like this?
Instead of answering that, I'll turn the question a bit and I'll tell you where is the part we fuck up the most and where we don't get enough time to do it, is the analysis, is the research. This is the part, I've got the entire system in front of me right now, bro. Foundations, hardware, how to set up your phones, how to put out content at mass without it getting flagged. How can you even locate the kind of content to put out? How can you do that? But the problem is, Alex, when you're putting out 100 to 150 pieces a day, one of the things I realized is understanding what's working becomes really hard at that volume. If you don't have a team, like a spread out team, it's me and another guy doing it on my team. It becomes really hard to analyze. Also, it becomes really hard to research on new things and understand what could work. Because this is a full-time job, like researching and analyzing. It's not something you can do when you're putting out this much content on volume. You can do randomly. It's not something you can dedicate half an hour to every day. You need time to do this. And this is the part where I'm struggling the most. The time to, anyone comes to me and tells me they'll do the research, they'll do the analysis, I can put their content out 100 to 150 pieces every single day. And this is just because the reason we haven't expanded to 20, 30, 40, 50 phones is mostly because we have a constraint in terms of research and analysis. It's not because we can't do it with the devices. It's not because we don't know how to. It's because we don't have the time to do the research and the analysis part of it.
And I can see that would be kind of where things break, because that's essentially the key thing for a good feedback loop, is like you need to first know what you need to change and then you need to change it, right? So doing that at scale becomes very hard. Like for every piece of content, being able to know, hey, this is what went wrong, here's what you need to do. And I think you need to have a higher level approach to things, where it's like across the board, this is what's performing the best, here's what we're doubling down on. Is that how you guys have been thinking about it?
I'm known for my famous Excel sheets, the ugly Excel sheets, but that's exactly how we do it, And you'll ask me, why do you not automate the process, right? Why don't you use a tool which allows you to track all the views? Why are you doing that? Because I find that as the last possible way we actually go and open the phone up and look at the video and see what is happening. Because what happens is if you had an automated view tracker, and a lot of my good friends, like if I had to recommend anyone, I would do Mike, right, from Viral Lab. He's incredible. He's a legend. That guy, I love him. But the reason we haven't done it for our organic content is because that is the last thing standing between us researching or not researching. Right now, my team has to go into each and every phone and look at the views and put them into a sheet. And this forces them to go and see what's happening. If this was not there, then we wouldn't be even looking at that. We would have no idea what's going on. I hear you. I lost you.
Yeah, I think my connection played a trick on me, but I should be back.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, now I was saying, Ankit, I think this is super interesting, one, and two, I think this will become more and more important to have like a systemized approach to things. I think that's how you should do it, treating it like a science, like you said. So then now that we're approaching kind of, our the end of our time together today, Ankit, I want to ask if you had to kind of sum all of your experience with the consumer app world, with TikTok, with distribution into 2 or 3 key insights and kind of or key lessons, really, because we talk a lot about also the mistakes you guys have made along the way. What do you think those would be?
The first one, like I told you, would be, the YC keeps telling us, build and they'll come. It doesn't happen, guys. Like, it's a lie. It's a lie. You can't just build and they'll come. You have to distribute and they'll come. Sorry for the finger. Like, you have to distribute and they'll come. You can't just expect to build and they'll come. First thing. Secondly, don't let views drive your ego on TikTok. We did this mistake, man. We got over 50 million views last year and 40 million views were crap. We had meme videos going out with a random meme and just flame written in the corner and going viral, and we're like, oh, this is going to work for a product. Doesn't work because the user needs to feel the pain and there needs to be a conversion loop built into the video. Like, we did this mistake where we just put out videos to get views and views and views and views and views and thought it would work. Conversion should be the first element you should be looking at in a video. If there's no element, like product feature, right? If people are not asking for the product in the comments, that is the strongest signal you can have when people are by themselves asking, hey, what product is this? What are you using? Like, I want this as well. Where can I find this? That's the strongest loop that you have a strong conversion built into the product. So don't do this mistake we did, right? Like, out of the 50 million, 40 million views were complete crap. It just served to boost our egos that, hey, we can make something go viral on TikTok, but not to convert. What we discovered is when you put content out that's going to convert, initially you might get less views, but that is okay because end of the day, you're getting more people onto your product, right? If I'm working with anyone else right now as well, and they tell me we'll get you 1 million views, I don't really care about you just getting me the views. I care about you getting me the views that can convert. Like, this is the most important thing. So this would be the second lesson. And then the third is, I think, and going to sound like a grandpa here, but we're living in these times where there's nothing standing in between us and what we want to achieve except the work we want to put in place. And you'll resonate with this, Alex. I know what you've done. I know how you build this up from scratch, like from starting from a point where I know you didn't come from a lot, right? Like, I know you didn't come from a lot and you to build all of this. So you understand that it needs work, man. Guys put out things, guys try 1 or 2 or 3 pieces and they get disheartened. They're like, oh, it's not working. Yes, it's not going to work. Like, put out a video, put out 3 videos, 5 videos every single day for the next 60 days and then tell me it's not working. Don't tell me the first day you put out 3 videos, it's not working, you're done. I get too excited, but yeah, this would be the top 3 things I would say.
I appreciate you, Ankit. I think this is very valuable. I think also a lot of people that are watching get inspired by the story and by, what you guys are building. So I will leave your socials here in the description for people to be able to follow on X, look at, reach out and is that the best place, X, or is there anything else you'd like us to include?
X, LinkedIn, what else? X and LinkedIn are good, brother.
We'll leave those
they're happy to reach
in
out.
the description.
Yeah,
Man, appreciate you, Ankit. Very good to
brother. Thank you so much.
talk to you.